All right, traders, welcome to today's recap. This is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Wednesday, July 10th. So, pretty nice day overall with Powell speaking today, which was the what everybody told you to kind of watch today and keep track of today. But SPYs finished up 0.5%. The night real outperformance today came from the Qs and the major indices. The Qs finished up right on the nose, up 1% for the day. Small caps lagged a little bit. They looked to be actually a little bit of a trouble area this morning, but they hung in there and finished green on the day. But they did slip to red territory a little bit earlier. Bonds were down. It's funny. Bonds finished down 0.5%. They were all over the place today with those first that first round of announcements that came at 8:30 this morning, the prepared remarks, I should say, that really caused the market to lift before the testimony that started at 10 a.m. Eastern here, and then gold had another really nice day, up 1.6% and outperformed. So let's go through the averages first. And then we'll talk about today's movers. We'll talk about the action after the open. But just looking at this S&P chart, what's funny is I see a couple like cup and handle patterns. Right, you have one here. Right, this looks like a big cup handle and move higher. If you break this down, you also have a cup here, handle here, and break higher. So it looks like it's kind of funny. You keep zooming in, and it almost looks like an optical illusion with several cup and handles in one year chart. But that's what we have right now, and this really gave a nice little signal. We had 3 days of a decline, all small declines, but we fell right into support. This was earlier in the week. Right, today Wednesday, so Monday is where we really fell. Tuesday we tried to go lower, hammer bar in an uptrend, and then nice move today. So that's what S&P looks like. Overall, what can you say? I mean, we did not close at the highs, but we hit an intraday high of 3,007. If we look at the Qs, you could see, and again, this is if you look at Nasdaq futures, there's no gap. But if you really want to be negative, you could look on the Qs and say, well, that's a gap today. But if you look at Nasdaq futures, obviously no gap there, but very strong. And this did make an all-time high in Nasdaq futures. I believe it made an all-time high in the Qs as well. Right, that should carry over to about the same thing. So up 1%. Small caps again just don't seem to have the momentum to them. I mentioned that they did briefly touch red after, at some point around like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock this morning. And then the bulls kind of stepped back in, after Powell was done with about half of his testimony at Congress today. So movers today, so I'll talk a little bit about what kind of transpired here for the day in the individual names. Again, I've got the two main things highlighted here were gold and the Qs. Those were ones. So again, what I'm always looking at is, and the reason why I'm doing that, that I'm looking at percentage change from open, so you could see where the opportunities are, right? I try to bang, really make sure that I'm aware of this and just hammer this through my head that the majority of the moves are happening in the overnight market. Now, whether it was right before the open like today or just somewhere throughout the overnight market, right? My goal to kind of look at this and to make sure that I'm showing this to members as well as on my end of day video is to keep showing this so that that the majority of the moves are happening overnight, not intraday. And if that changes, so be it. There'll be more day trading opportunities. But the reason why I keep showing this spreadsheet, percentage change from open versus the overall change, is to show that the majority of the gains are happening on the open. So, and I'm going to tell you how I take advantage of that in just a second. But let me go through the performers. Oil names were actually the best performing. Oil services finished up 3.5% for the day, and intraday moved up 2%. But overall up very nicely. Same thing with XOP. Same thing with gold miners too. Gold miners continue to be on the top of the list. Telecom names perform well. And that's really it in terms of performers during the day. Software names finished up, but software, like I'm seeing a lot of toppy looking candles. Just for short term, it looked like software got a little bit tired after multiple days of running really nice. Software has been a really nice performer. We could see that on the IGV ETF. I took a lot of profits in this space. For me today, I had a few trades on, and I've been kind of cycling in and out of some trades in software. But Twilio was a name, TTD was a name, and I think I had one other name on too. But yeah, the goal in this type of market, as these things push to 52-week highs, of course, is to ride your winners, but also to make sure if you've got those short-term option trades on, to go ahead and make sure that you're locking in some of those gains. You could of course always roll out to kind of ride that winner. And again, obviously, everything that I'm going over today is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. But you could see a lot of things, profit taking kind of came in, especially in the Chinese internet names, which had a really nice day yesterday. Really tough for these China internet names to have like a multiple day rally. It seems like whenever they have a big day, profit takers come in, and that just seems to be the case for the Chinese internet names. I think very difficult that group remains. Great for some days for trading, but overall trend is still, I think, somewhat difficult. Also, I don't know why the solar names were not performing too well throughout the day. They sold off the second most of any group. The banks actually finished down too. Remember, more interest rate cuts, not great for the banks. Material names were also down a bit today. But yeah, you can see regional banks, I think, were the worst performing group, down 1.1% for the session. FANG stocks, Amazon, unbelievable, continues to rip higher. Real nice, 3-day move at this point for Amazon. So, we'll see where this goes. It is now officially overbought. The RSI is at 74. But it is getting very close to all-time highs. So finally, right, the FANG stocks performing pretty well. So the two that I've been discussing a lot is Facebook and Amazon. I thought Facebook would get going here. Real nice move here to the upside as well, and close right on the highs. So impressive for the FANG group to get going. But yeah, this finished up 1.7% and really climbed throughout the session too. Google did pretty well as well. So you get a couple names. Netflix, still troubled since they mentioned that, what show is it? Friends is not going to be on that show anymore. Which is one of the most highly watched shows, I guess, on Netflix. So that kind of dogging the stock a bit. So, that was your underperformer out of that group. Apple quietly did pretty well today, too. This group was pretty mixed, but did okay. PayPal was up 1%. I mean, nothing wrong with an up 1% day. Same thing with Microsoft, too, and both of these names increased after the open. Square up another 0.5% after a monster day yesterday. Like I said, Salesforce, you could see a lot of red there on the percentage move from open. So it does look like some of these names had profit taking come in. TTD actually finished down on the day. So I took profits right in the beginning of the day. I'll talk about what I did in just a second for the day. But Okta finally, you could see these names. Twilio finished flat on the day after starting the day up like 1.5%. So again, these names, right? I mean, I think you kind of are aware that these names have been on tremendous runs. So it cycles, right? I mean, I always talk about this in an up market, but rolling basically. They roll for a few days, and then where they're really great to buy is when they come back in again, right? So last week, Twilio's, even though it gave a couple sketchy days last week where it didn't close on the highs, still managed to get through value. So that was where my target was, and my exit all along is what I was looking for, is that move to top of value. I'm now out of that name. But yeah, you could see the same thing. ServiceNow is above value, but a little bit of a toppy looking candle. TTD, I'm still holding my last piece of this because my target is 252. So I do have a couple weeks to that trade. Actually, a little more than 2 weeks to that trade. So about 12 days, I think, left. That's a 726 trade. But yeah, I took targets on that. Yeah, so here's what I did today. Uh, when I get these gap up days, this was all in the first 15 minutes, just selling for me. And then I just kind of wait, and I put that out on the private Twitter feed. I said, hey, I'm going to be a net seller in the first half hour of the day. And then we'll see where things go after the Powell testimony. But I really thought today was a gift. The move up this morning, the gap up was a gift. I also took, so always it's the same drill for me on this after like the second, third day of a rally, and especially when we have when we start the day up 1%. How do I handle this? I basically go to all my short-term positions. Short-term, like if I've got call spreads on, I mainly, I don't really have a lot of really short-term positions on. Most of them are in spreads, but I've got call spreads on, and so the Twilio was a July position. FDN was a position that I put on yesterday, so perfect. Even though that wasn't a huge position, but I got out of that whole position today. August 150 calls. I talked about that in last night's video, so that worked. That worked really well. But yeah, it's the same drill. I always will unwind some of those shorter term positions first, and then I'll go into a little bit further out swings to unwind those. GD was a nice winner for me. It was a name that I added to yesterday. And then I'll look at stock positions, right? If I decide I want to take any of the stock positions or hedge the stock positions. I took my first target in SE up at 636.32. And then just a couple other positions. Even some names that didn't perform well on a day like this, I decide a lot of times just to get out of or take some of the position off. Not every position that you put on is going to be a winner. So on a day like this, when the majority of positions are winners, then you can kind of look to get out of some of the names that have been kind of lagging your portfolio in a bit. And I did that with Dominion today. I still have that position on, but it just hasn't been moving enough. And it is an August position, which means the theta decay is quite high right now. And then what did I do? You could see all exits except for I day traded a little bit of Lowe's today. That name was down. I didn't even see why it was down, but it was down over 2%. So it did rally back from the lows. And then Square was my only ad today, and I put on stock. So I'll go over this chart. I have no problem doing this. But yeah, I'm looking for a bigger move in Square. I know Square had this big rally day yesterday. Am I concerned that I missed it? No, because I'm looking for a move to possibly for this thing to get back to maybe 85, 90 bucks, which I think would be a nice little move. Where is my defined support, defined stop? It's at 75 bucks. So most I can lose on that is a couple $100. So that's what I did today. And again, I think overall, this market is, very positive. I don't know. I'll have to see if Breath made a new high today. That's what I would be watching to see, kind of confirm the move today. But it's like anything, right? The last couple days. Well, I don't want to say last couple days, but towards the end of last week and the beginning of the week, in S&P, we saw a little bit of digestion, right? And those are the places where, kind of not even a dip, but digestion into support in an uptrend is basically where I look to start positions, or build positions. And then once we get the rally, then I look to unwind those positions. So that's basically what I did today. And strategy going forward is to kind of be, understand that, the Fed today, I don't have all the answers for what they said. It seems a bit confusing to me. They're talking about some areas of the market positive, some areas of the market a little bit weak, in terms of recent data. But I think they're looking at global growth and just kind of following what the rest of the world is doing in terms of easing a bit. So who knows what they're going to continue to do. But for now, I think they kind of set the tone for a July 31st rate cut. What happens after that? Not sure. Also, looking ahead. Remember, in the market, you always want to be looking ahead, not looking in the rearview mirror, not looking at P&L and trying to set targets in your P&L, but really looking to see what's going to happen forward. So I really don't want to be, why I took a lot of profits today. I don't really want to be overly greedy in this market, and realizing that we've got earnings that are going to be starting. Earnings season really kind of gets moving next week and the next couple weeks. So overall, I always think that that is not a great time to be swing trading. So yeah, I'm going to be trying to kind of cut more and more positions and practice what I preach in terms of dialing down some positions into that. And again, for swing trades, I can't advocate enough that these end of day moves are larger than the intraday moves, and I really try to sit on my hands and not force trades during the day. Unless we really kind of start the day lower and it entices some buyers to come in. All right, so that's it for today's video. Have a great night, everybody. Look forward to tomorrow's trading action. See you guys bright and early in the trading room pre-market. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.